Attention, please be advised. The following episode contains spoilers. Don't say we didn't warn you.
You can feel whatever you want.
You can use the word cop out. It's welcome here.
So just killing off Kilgrave?
Just like that.
Killing Grave?
Killing Grave.
Nerd On.
What is, everyone? Welcome to Nerd On, the podcast you didn't need, but you deserve. We're all levels of word.
Yes.
All levels of word.
Yes, keep it in.
Keeping it in.
All levels of word.
We are. $2 words, short words, long words.
$5 words.
Yeah, whatever you like.
If you have
Nerd.
already
But
words, the
also,
word nerd.
all level of nerd are welcome.
Yeah.
Even you.
And we are joined by a guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Dillon Mora, a nerd with an opinion on the Instagrams, and I am the host of Nerd with an Opinion podcast.
There we are.
Yeah, and kind of the business real quick. This episode is brought to you in part by our patrons over at Patreon. So grateful for you guys.
Thank you for
Check it out.
being on board.
Join the club.
I'm Josh, if you're new to the show.
I'm Tom.
Corey.
Ollie. And yeah, we are Nerd On. And like Corey said, we have a guest, which is fun. Dillon from Nerd with an Opinion. So I thought we'd start at the logical place and ask you about what you do.
Yeah. Tell us about yourself, man.
Well, to clear the air, I think a lot of people find it confusing that I refer to myself as the Nerd with an Opinion, and then there's the Nerd with an Opinion podcast. But, you know, it tends to work itself out. But
You can say you're the nerd.
The Nerd with an Opinion, and it's spelled the same way. The interesting part is our philosophies between my podcast, your podcast. It's really similar. I believe everyone's a geek or a nerd in some way or the other, and I love to have people on, share their opinions. And I do tend to like to interview, like I did just recently with you guys.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Check it out.
That was fun.
And
That
so
was
you have your
flattering.
podcast, and how long have you been doing that?
It's funny, WonderCon marks the anniversary every single year of
that's awesome.
my podcast.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, every time it comes around, that means another year. So this is my third year with Nerd with an Opinion podcast.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Any like super awesome guests or hosts that you've brought on the show? Or
What's
anything?
your
So
favorite
far,
thing? Yeah.
my favorite,
Us.
Chris Gore.
Chris
Oh,
Gore,
wow.
nice.
That's
Chris
awesome.
Gore was
that
also, he's exactly how he presents himself on TV. Very busy, very forward, but honestly, he's a really cool dude. But he's just always so moving forward, always on his phone, because of the fact that
He's on it.
he has a lot of stuff going on, and he just kickstarted. But last year he just finished kickstarting. Film Threat, which was his indie magazine, and that's what his claim to fame is what brought him to LA. And so a lot of that going around asking him about
Always
that project.
working. Always working. As Andy Samberg says, never stop, never stopping.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So your podcast, it's called Nerd with an Opinion, and so you interview all sorts of different kinds of people.
I think the most diverse that I've had, because I used to work for a vape company about 5 years ago. And so I had one of the owners of one of the vape juice manufacturing companies on,
Dope.
like episode 5 or something like that. And then it goes all the way to, I'm trying to get these guys on right now who do an indie comic book called Superbud, which is about characters who get superpowers from smoking marijuana.
I need to read that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So it's
sounds
very
great.
diverse on the interview front, and getting people on, cosplayers, artists, creatives, all types of people.
Do you go over just specifically them or the people you have on, or do you guys go over like a topic or something? Or
I normally just focus at first. When I first started the podcast, I thought it was going to be more like segmented show. And the longer I had it, the more I figured out that I was better at getting people to talk to me. And so I just turned it straight into an interview show eventually. And that's where we're at, and that's where I'm going to keep it.
That is a strength to have, because I am not that way. I'm not good at interview. I go, do you like it? And that's my questions I usually
And then they're
ask.
like, yeah, good.
Yeah, sure,
great.
man.
Good.
every time we're like, so we live in LA, and there's every once in a while you'll see like a celebrity or something like that, and Corey's like, Tom, go talk to him. It's like, what do you mean me go talk to
I'm
him?
not good at it. I don't like to bother people.
And the
Like,
funny-
that's my thing.
Me
Don't
neither.
flex in front of them or something.
You are my density.
Yeah.
And half the time it's like people that he knows more than I do. It's like, I don't know this person. But he's like, go talk to him. I was like, okay, let's do this.
I shall.
And then once Tom initiates, I can usually be like, okay. Now
I'm
we're
the opener.
comfortable.
He's the closer.
Yeah, exactly.
He could do one. I can't do the other.
Awesome. And so you started it 3 years ago. What was the inspiration?
Paper speech that I wrote for my speech class, speech 102 or something like that, and it was a persuasive speech, and so I wanted to convince everybody in the room that they were a nerd one way or the other, and I got an A.
There you go.
Nice. Fuck yeah.
Well, it was a 98%, but whatever.
That's an A plus.
You know, and that was the basis towards, because the whole philosophy with Nerd Opinion is, the biggest line that I always refer to people is, because I'm not a big sports guy, and it always makes it sound like I'm kind of being picking on people who like sports. I always make the comparison. People go, "Oh, well, why would you spend so much money on a Comic-Con ticket? $175 plus all the fees, and then you're dressing up like Batman." And, well, don't you have season tickets? And don't you put on your favorite hero from the team's jersey every time you go? And
they go, oh.
yeah, and then it clicks instantly,
I like that a lot. I'm gonna steal that.
And there's people like Kevin Smith and Spike Lee who love sports and make it well known that they love sports, but it coexists and they work within each other. I think there's a big spectrum of nerd.
Yeah.
And the funny part is, you look at Shaq, Man of Steel, and he loves Superman. So,
Yeah.
100%.
Jerry Seinfeld loves Superman.
He does love Superman. In fact,
That's awesome.
There you go. Everyone's got something.
You were mentioning the other night, Stephen Colbert.
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, really?
Oh my God.
Lord of the Rings. It's ridiculous.
He has challenged, or people have challenged him. He's almost memorized like the behind the scenes of making of the book. Like that's like he knows everything about it.
Yeah,
he wants to be an elf.
On the Graham Norton show, Tom Hanks went against Simon Pegg in a Star Trek trivia, and Vin Diesel has written D&D plots.
Yep.
And movies based on it.
Yeah, and Henry Cavill, when he was getting his call for Man of Steel,
was playing World of
He was playing World of Warcraft and missed the call.
Yeah, he missed the call.
He missed the call
because he was doing a raid, and I was like, respect, respect.
Cara Delevingne is a huge Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto player.
Yeah, everyone's got something. I mean, it doesn't always have to be that either. I always mention a couple of my friends where they're like, I don't nerd out about anything, and I was like, what's something you get excited about? And they're like, novels, and I go, great. That's there it is, right there. Like, do you go out to bookstores and get super excited that your new book came out? Yeah. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah. So
everybody's a nerd about something, but what are you a nerd about?
Exactly.
The most interesting thing that I've had someone tell me that they were just super into was like baking.
Yeah.
They didn't go to school for it, but they'll as soon as somebody wants to they're like, hey, you guys got any recipes for cookies? Fuck those cookies. I got these, these I got this thing, we don't do cupcakes over here.
I got cookies for you.
Yeah. So
cook it right here.
And they're super into it. They actually have a bakery called Needy Bakery. It's called Dessert Bars for the Stars.
Shout out to Needy.
They're awesome. They have everything's clever. Like the brownies, Robert Brownie Juniors.
Oh my God, Corey is gonna.
This is my dream.
We have to go.
We have to go now,
dude. Rice Crispin Glovers.
Oh. Okay, can I throw one out there for him? Cinnabon Jovi.
Oh, dude, you're gonna have to hit them up. They're fantastic.
You walk in there and it's just right there, Cinnabon Jovi.
And they have a great story on how they started the bakery. They both lived in LA. These two girls. They call themselves the Two Baked Girls.
That's awesome.
And
of course,
they quit their job about 2 years ago and got a loan from their parents to start this company. And they've been paying for their lives through the bakery since they started. And they do Hollywood events. They do all types of stuff. And I have so much respect for these girls for dropping everything that they were doing and starting this company. And that's something that you learn from
living the dream.
doing the interview with them.
That's gangster.
Literally the American dream.
Now, kind of before we started, we had kind of gotten to talking about how you're also really into film and the film industry as well. What kind of spurred that on?
I think growing up, honestly, my favorite movie that I can remember and being enamored with is Back to the Future.
Yes.
And knowing that it wasn't real, but spoiler, it's not real.
What?
Yeah,
You
right.
shut up now. Get out of here.
I have a DeLorean. I drove it here. Knowing that it wasn't real, but that somebody was able to write something so magical and shoot it in such a fantastic way that you thought for the hour and a half that each movie runs that you think it's real. I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah,
I want to do that.
It's magic.
Yeah.
You literally create movie magic. And for doing that for somebody and creating art that does something for the world or people around you, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Zemeckis is really good at that.
We're all film fanatics
Yeah.
here. Tom and I also create, and you also create film as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you studying right now?
Right now, I major in production, and I really want to be a producer because they're the unsung heroes of the whole scenario.
Yeah.
The producers are. I feel like they're kind of like almost like they're like a part of the heart. They're pumping the blood, and the PAs really are like the life stream. Like they're the ones that are getting the coffees and doing the runs. They're the first ones on set, last ones off set, and they're the ones like like, hey, you're gonna fill in for grip. Hey, you're gonna fill in for AC today. Hey, you gotta be with the key grip. You gotta be with the second AD. You gotta be with the first. And it's like the things that a PA has to be able to juggle. Obviously, you'll have drivers and stuff, but sometimes they have to be the driver.
Yep.
Sometimes they have to be there for the director's assistant to do something for the director's assistant for the director.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unknown unsung heroes.
Yeah,
That's
Definitely.
what we're
The food guy. The
crafty.
The crafting.
Craft
dude.
services.
He's got
Jeremy
this
from
level.
Crafty.
Mm-hmm.
Killing it with that mac and cheese. Killing it.
Mac and cheese. I love mac and cheese. So, shall we move on to our topic?
We could go on
Yeah.
a topic.
Oh,
I like that.
So today we are talking about Jessica Jones.
Yay, Jessica.
on,
Jessica Bones.
Jessica
Yeah.
Bones on Netflix.
Yay, Jessica
it's got
Jones.
2 seasons right now.
Mhm.
It's
Probably my favorite of the Netflix
Oh, really?
series, actually. Yeah.
That's my second favorite.
I'll throw it out there. I haven't watched all of Punisher yet. I just started it.
It's pretty
so
darn
as
good.
of right now, what I've seen, it's the one I've gotten through the most of.
a little bit of a comic book background. It's a relatively new like standalone title created by Brian Michael Bendis. Fucking amazing dude.
When did it come out?
I think like 2011,
I'll look it up.
2001. It's pretty
For playing
new.
the home game.
And it actually started out. Jessica Jones, the character, started out as like a more of a side character to Jessica Drew, who is also known as Spider-Woman, during the comic book run Alias. And it wasn't until later on that Jessica Jones had such a different vibe comparatively to Jessica Drew, because they're just different characters, even though they share the first name.
Oh, it
Right.
says that she first appeared in Alias #1 in 2001.
But then now is become like a household product because of the Netflix series and popularity. Now she has her own comic book series, and she's actually a really kind of dope character once you kind of go into more intricacies.
Doesn't
And-
she have background like being a part of like a side crew of the Avengers?
Yeah, so I mean, she's been recruited by the Avengers before, and she's turned that down. And we'll go about it in the episode talking about this episode's is going to talk strictly based on like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Netflix series, but it's kind of cool
real
seeing
quick,
some liberties.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Oh, yeah.
There are
spoilers.
probably going to be some spoilers because we probably were going to talk specific scenes
From season
and-
1, Defenders, and season 2.
Yeah. So pause the episode. Go home, watch it. Take about 28
Go home.
hours.
Not
28
at
hours.
home.
Yeah. To do that.
And then-
Leave the
and then come back.
Starbucks.
Yeah.
Press play now.
So
Okay, sorry, Tom. I
No,
just
you're
want to
fine.
make sure we got that in there.
So I mean, yeah, the series takes a lot of different liberties, and I mean, the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the TV series is just huge. I always say this word wrong: amalgamation.
Yeah, that was right.
No,
That
that's
was
good.
right.
Good job.
Good word.
Amalgamation is weird, kind of like Ultimate Universe, but also like the actual 616.
All levels of word are welcome.
Like I said.
So it's a little interesting to see that, but I mean, I'm ready to go into the TV series, and we can go back and forth between the comic books and that.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So first time watching it. What was
Yeah.
Initial reactions.
I'm coming from a place where wasn't Daredevil was the first, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
on
it
That
Netflix.
was the first on Netflix.
I love Daredevil.
Oh
Still
my
my
God.
favorite.
It's so good.
Especially season 1. To me, I just loved every little bit of season 1.
It was huge because it was also going to be like the main headliner was like Drew Goddard, who did Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
And I mean, film people like Jean-Luc Godard are like, oh, Godard, but it's a different person.
Right.
So
And was Jessica Jones the second thing?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was Daredevil,
So-
Jessica Jones, Luke
So it was
Cage.
I was in before Luke Cage. So this was like
Iron Fist.
Iron shit.
yeah, before let's just say but Jessica Jones coming off of Netflix, I was very much excited for it. It looked really cool. I'm a huge fan of Kristen Ritter. And I really liked the first season. It was really good. I enjoyed Kilgrave.
Yes.
Because
David
of
Tennant.
David
Yeah.
all day, all day.
So I ended up, admittedly the end of the first season was a little like I don't go as far as saying like it was a cop out, but like
You can say that if you feel like it.
it kind of was,
Okay.
the way it ended. But
You can feel whatever
The
you
end-
want.
You
End
can
of-
use
end
the
of
word
season one?
cop out.
End of
It's
season
welcome
one.
here.
So just killing off Kilgrave?
just like that.
Killing Grave?
Killing Grave.
Killing, then there's a grave.
In such a kind of like,
In the Man of Steel way?
yeah,
Okay.
But no CGI
not
mouth.
so clever way.
Okay.
No
Um,
CGI mustache removal.
No CGI mustache removal.
Okay.
Damn.
So,
They did not have to remove Kristen Ritter's mustache.
Yeah.
Dillon,
Dylan.
I'm doing the Predator way.
You know, it's funny because you guys are all saying I like what things you do like.
Mhm.
I'm not a big fan of Kristen Ritter.
There it is.
Lay it
You
on
know,
us.
Wow, this just got really
Let's talk
Got
about
really
it.
awkward.
I know, guys. Leave. Get out.
Well,
Um,
this is her coming off of something about the bee in Apartment 23, whatever that
Yeah.
show was.
I think she was on Breaking Bad after that.
Yeah.
right?
Was she in Breaking Bad after that?
She
I think it
was
was after.
Jesse's girlfriend for like
Mhm.
a season.
and that's when I was really first introduced to her. And then seeing that she was on that, what is it, Room
Yeah.
B?
23,
in
Yeah.
apartment.
Yeah.
And she's wearing a whipped cream bikini or some nonsense, you know.
Yeah.
So I was interested
Very
in that.
different.
I like that.
Clearly, but she always plays. I didn't really see too much of the other show, but I saw all of Breaking Bad, and she seems to play the same kind of bitchy, kind of like just upfront character.
Know it
where-
all, cold.
yeah, and it's easy to get tired of that real quick.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I associate her with Jesse's girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know, in Breaking Bad. And a lot of people have said, and I'm not that dark, but they're like, oh, my favorite part, I love Kristen Ritter. Oh, yeah, in Breaking Bad, I love her because she dies. You know?
Spoilers for Breaking Bad.
Yes, Breaking Bad spoiler, sorry. But
It's 2008.
Yeah.
yeah, get with it, bro.
She's not an
That
integral
was
part of the
before.
show.
We can pause now, go watch Breaking Bad, and then
And come back and let us
we're
know
back.
what you think.
Realize
It's only
that she
3
doesn't
episode
matter.
arc that she's in, or 4 episodes, so you won't miss too much. But in terms of the whole series of Jessica Jones, the first season, as soon as David Tennant showed up, I was like, yeah, he's a bad guy. Because you don't normally get to see David Tennant being the bad
Oh,
guy. If you
yeah.
watch Broadchurch, spoilers,
Oh my God, so
he's
good.
he's 50-50 because he's the disturbed cop. You know, he's
Or
he's
you
He's
know
a
him-
caring dickhead.
Or
Yeah.
you know him as the best doctor in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I was going to say, this is the second Doctor that's been a Marvel villain.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thor Dark World.
Eccleston.
Yeah.
Yeah. And going along with
So was some of the first time that you were watching in your initial reactions, was it just like, okay, I'm just going to get through this? I'm just going to watch it. Because the
I'm with the
Netflix
world.
Marvel shows are kind of, it's okay. Now this is taking place. Now this is taking place, but it's on Luke Cage or it's on Defenders or whatever.
Right.
And so it kind of fills in. So it's like, okay, I guess I got to watch this. Or was it?
I watched the first 5 episodes, binged them, and then was like, this shit sucks. And then didn't go and watch it, the rest of it, until they announced when the release date of Jessica Jones' second season was. So then I was like, all right, I'll watch it. And then got all the way through, and once it starts picking up later on, every episode kind of has a lot of up and downs. And I was not a big fan. They didn't give you a lot of backstory for her, not a lot of exposition. You just know because they're all tied in. You're like, they're making all these comments and stuff like, oh, were you there for the event or this and that, you know? And it gets there, but it still leaves me with a flavor in my mouth that's not palatable.
It still leaves you something wanting more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everything, including
And
the ending.
And I agree with that. And I think, and I want to definitely expand on this a little bit later, but watching or trying to watch The Defenders kind of, to me, it pointed out a lot of those issues a lot more that I had with the show, but, hadn't, was kind of, clouded by the actual plot of the first season.
Right.
But just getting like, her Jessica Jones, basically herself, like just the character in a show where, she doesn't belong in and doesn't contribute anything to, in my opinion. It was in Defenders. It was really easy to see that.
The
like
disconnect.
her flaws, like her character flaws and stuff like come through.
Corey?
Yeah.
I actually, like I said, it's one of my favorite Marvel TV shows. I again watched Daredevil first, and I really liked that. And the second season for me kind of fell apart. I ended up after the stairway scene, which I still think is one of the greater TV feats alongside the True Detective one shot. I'm on the kind of on the same spectrum of Kristen Ritter hasn't been one of my favorites in the things that she's been in, except for this. Like I really like her in this, and maybe it's because finally, like you said, that that one note she kind of hits finally found a home for me.
Yeah.
I enjoyed her in Breaking Bad, but like you said, it's a very short, quick thing, and your attention isn't really on her. It's on Jesse or it's on Walter White. So for her to kind of
That's on Gus.
finally find a home for that character that fit really well, I thought was great. I think it came at a time where we do need strong, independent female leads. And that the scene in the first season where she lifts the car up to get the subpoena to the guy, I loved that. I love stuff like that. So for me, it was that Kilgrave. I fucking love David Tennant. Like, I haven't watched Doctor Who, the last, shout out to Netta because she gives me shit for this all the time. I used to watch Doctor Who all the way through. And then when I found out David Tennant's last 2 episodes were coming up, I still haven't watched them because I don't want to.
You don't want to, because it hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet. He's still the Doctor.
In your mind.
Like,
you're in denial.
I've seen his Hamlet, which was on Netflix for a while, and he was great. I'm just a big fan. I'm a big fan of his stuff. So for me, I've kind of put him up there with Loki as far as like Marvel's villains. Yeah. And I was really sad that it's like, they're like, we're not going to do any more with him.
He could have been the Loki of the TV.
They didn't. I honestly don't think they needed to end it. And I know we've already said spoilers, kind of like you said, Arkham Asylums, where he's like, quote unquote, back. But like, it's really like a demon from her past in a sense.
Yeah. The second season,
he's just haunting her.
As the critics would say.
Yeah. But I thought he was such an interesting character that they could have spent a whole nother season on him.
He was so OP though, man.
I know, but like...
Well, I mean, anyone that does stuff to your mind, so I mean, like Shadow King and like, Xavier's, all those kind of people are like...
Yeah, but they found a way to do it. I don't know if... I mean, I don't want to spoil anything further. Legion. But like, yeah, they found a way to deal with it in Legion. Like, if your character's too OP, then don't play your hand that early. Yeah. Or like, maybe don't introduce him till towards the end of season 1 so he can be the arc for season 2, because... You have this thing, I kind of attribute it to, if you're familiar with Romeo and Juliet, you kill off Mercutio halfway through the show because he's too interesting. If Mercutio makes it to the end, the weight of Romeo and Juliet not working out, you're like, well, at least Mercutio's around. He's dope as shit. You have to kill him off because like he's way too interesting and people are going to start caring about that character more.
It's going to be Kilgrave season 2.
Right. Like, I wish they had written it in a way where they had like a slow release of him instead of being like, this is what you're dealing with in season 1.
You invested more in Jessica.
That's what happened with Punisher. Yeah. That's exactly what happened with Punisher.
Like, so that's my whole thing. Defenders, and maybe we'll get into Kwame Combs a little later. But Defenders, I couldn't. I really tried. I really tried to watch that show.
And it's only, what, 4 episodes?
It's 8. I'm on the last one, and I can't start the.
Do you want to know how many I got through?
1.
Half.
Wow.
Half of 1. That's where I was. I was half of 1 before. Like I was like, okay, Jessica Jones season 2 is coming out. It might matter. So let me just.
We'll get into the Kwame Combs a little bit. That's my first impression of Jessica Jones.
Something that's funny is that all the Marvel TV shows marketing is fantastic.
Oh yeah,
it gets you so hyped to watch it, and you're like, "Oh, this is gonna be good, baby!" They got that one rock song from the '80s that every other Marvel's TV movie's doing now, and they're playing it through that. I was like, "I'm about to watch it." My initial reactions for watching Jessica Jones, I personally like Kristen Ritter a lot, and I'm going to be the odd man out, and I have not watched anything David Tennant. Absolutely nothing.
That's okay. That's your mistake.
Well, the funny thing is kind of like
we all make mistakes.
He was the last of my priority to watch the show, and he still is my last of my priority.
Yeah, I'm not a Doctor Who fan, but I've watched a lot. Like Dillon mentioned, Broadchurch. It is one of the best television series out there.
It's one of the best shows I've probably ever watched in my life.
And David Tennant is an amazing character. He's the lead. He and another and a lady. They play off of each other so well, but he really is. He's this caring dickhead. He's just like, you just love him because he does care about everybody, but he does it in a dickish way. And David Tennant has this accent. Like his accent is just, it's unlike anything. So I just like listening to him.
Is it his natural Scottish accent?
Yeah.
Yes.
The only time I've watched David Tennant is actually in this one indie movie that was on Netflix, and that was it. But other than that, I was kind of like, okay, cool, whatever. But I was, I'm a huge comic book fan. I'm a comic book fiend. I have another comic book podcast. And so for me, like watching Marvel's TV shows comparatively, and I've loved CW's comic book shows.
Yeah.
And you could say they're corny or they're lower production values, but it's a hero story. It's a hero's journey. And the thing that I liked a lot about Kristen Ritter's take on Jessica Jones, and just Jessica Jones' character in itself, the reason why you like Tony Stark more than you like Captain America is because Captain America has to be moral and he makes selfless decisions, while Tony Stark has that possibility of being selfish. And Jessica Jones doesn't have to be the righteous moral hero. She gets to be herself in a world where everyone is expecting her to be a hero, and she is doing everything to try not to be a hero. And she is, like Corey has said before, in the Tobey Maguire way, he's a character, or she's a character that is forced to be a hero because these things are impacting her actual life, not because like there's something going on over there, I'm going to involve myself over there for no damn reason. It's like, no, this is my life, and people are getting sucked into the whirlpool that is the shitty, like, abusive relationship that I have with Kilgrave. I found that this show really tries to be character focused, and that was the one thing comparatively to Daredevil that I did not like. And so Daredevil is, to me, is the Captain America to Jessica Jones, Tony Stark, where Daredevil I could give less of a shit about, because I could care less of what his, like, I'm this sad dude that's like, this old man keeps beating me with a stick.
Blind.
He's not really blind, and the show does everything it can to be like he's not actually blind.
So let me get this straight. You like the less character drivenness of Daredevil versus Jessica Jones?
The other way. I like Jessica Jones more character driven, because Daredevil was more about like he's just this guardian protector, but he was so troubled that I cared more about Foggy, and I cared more about everyone else other than him, because obviously he's gonna make the right decision. Obviously he has the tough decisions to make, but Jessica Jones, like, she may not make the right decision.
Yeah.
That's what made Daredevil so good for me, though.
Interesting.
And that's part of the reason that I like Kevin Smith movies, is because of that writing style, that technique, is that there is a main character, but there's all these other people that you care sometimes more about than the main character. And
it's funny that you say that, because, you know, at first when you're saying like how Kristen Ritter plays off this like kind of one note thing, I think those work best for side characters, right?
Yeah.
Like the side character is usually like, oh, they're the ones that you love the most, the Mercutios, right?
Yeah.
Versus like the bland audience vessel, which is the Daredevil, who's like, that's how I would feel. I'd be conflicted, and it's tough. And then the side character gets all the love and joy because they don't have to make the tough decisions. Where Jessica Jones, you put the spotlight on her, and you get to have the fun with that character. So that was something that I enjoyed way more.
Okay. All right.
So that was mine.
It's very Martin McDonagh.
Yeah.
Martin McDonagh's main characters are usually the comical or vibrant character of the story, and they still have to make those tough decisions.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
And they have the opportunity to make the wrong decision.
Yeah.
And they often do.
I think that's why, like, I think maybe this is also true for you, Corey, why you liked Jessica Jones season 1 was your favorite, but you can't watch Defenders.
Yeah.
Is, well, one, it's marred with other characters that are less than savory.
Iron shit.
Yeah. I like that. I'm using that.
But I think like you don't get to do that in Defenders. In Defenders, like I've said it before, she's like every character in that show is a caricature of their own character, like in their respective shows. You can't spend the time to like investigate, like or to you know, grow those characters.
Yeah.
And especially with Jessica Jones, like I feel like in Defenders she felt super flat. It was like, yeah, you're angsty, I get it. Okay, cool. Like can I get back to a scene with Daredevil? Like, you know what I mean?
And then it's like,
Well,
this is not the Defenders episode, but
right.
It's
but I mean, like
interesting,
comparatively, like you get in Jessica Jones the show, you get to have fun with it. You get to develop the character.
Yeah.
You get to explore why she is that way,
Get her
especially in
cheeky
season 2.
one-liners and her sass.
Right.
My initial reactions, much like Corey was, you know, coming off of Daredevil and then Jessica Jones being next. I really enjoyed the first season of Jessica Jones. I really, really enjoyed it. And when it comes to Kristen Ritter, it's kind of like, this is what I think about the acting world, is there are characters, I think you and I were talking about this, Tom. Actors, there are certain actors that just, they play this. That's what they do.
They're typecast.
Yeah, they're typecast, but I don't even know if it's sometimes that, where it's like, maybe they do that kind of character really well. Like
Statham is the transporter.
Yeah, I mean that's what they do. John Boyega, I feel like he is the same kind of character. Like watching Pacific Rim recently, I'm like, oh,
it's Finn.
It's Finn. You know, it's like that's what they do.
I call it Tracy Morgan.
Seth Rogen is Seth Rogen in this or this, and it's
Nicolas
like
Cage.
Forever. So they play this certain kind of character.
Crazy forever.
And that's why people go, oh, you know what? you know who we should have play this? We should have that person play it because that's just what they do, and they will fit into this.
People like
into
watching
this.
them do that.
Yeah, and so watching her, it wasn't too much of a problem with me because I can see that too, where it's like, okay, she just always just plays this bitchy, angsty person, and it's like, well, if Jessica Jones is bitchy, angsty, why don't we get the best of the best?
Yeah,
and that's okay. But so watching first season, I was like, okay, I'm onto this. I like this. I feel like the Netflix shows, it takes a couple of episodes. I think that they're not all right off the bat fucking awesome. And so the first season and the second, let me get to the second season in just a second. But first season, I loved it. I loved watching everything with Kilgrave. And I really did like it. Second season, not so much. That was a forcer. I had to just like, okay, I'm going to watch it because it might have to do with something later on in the Marvel TV universe.
We can move on to the synopsis right after this because I just feel like this isn't. I would want to do a Marvel Netflix episode.
Yeah.
Because there's a fundamentally flawed formula for how these shows go.
Yeah.
That by episode 8, when your attention span is just drawn out.
Yeah.
Because again, they release it all at once, right? So it's catered to in a binge style. But then by episode 8, they throw in some stupid C plot, Z plot of like their past. Which tries to reinvigorate you into their subplot, their subtextual thing of like what's actually happening. And it's the toughest thing because you'll have these commas at like episode 3 or episode 6, episode like 9, where you're like, what is happening? Like
they're starting to try to develop the next season. Like Trish is starting to become Hellcat, from what I understand. So they're starting to try to be like, here are these little Easter eggs. Here are these little things.
But then you kind of lose sight of the primary focus of like what the hell, like the actual intention of the goals and the characters are supposed to be going towards.
Like Daredevil season 2 had way too much going on for it.
It was segmented. Like the first 5 episodes were Punisher.
Too busy.
Then after that, it was just Elektra. Then after that, it was the Hand. It's like, we'll pick one. Like, or weave it together better.
Yeah.
But it's just the way that they handle the shows. But let's go into synopsis of the show.
Yeah. Brief synopsis.
Brief synopsis. So, I mean, I'd say overall, the show, the 2 shows, not counting Defenders, I'd say Jessica Jones, her story in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a story of abusive relationships. Everyone is going through abusive relationships with one thing or another. Season 1, I would say in like 3 sentences. You get Jessica Jones, and she used to be a hero, and now she's not. She's with an adoptive family, and her best friend's Trish with a druggie down the hall from her apartment. And she's reeling from a past relationship from a guy named Kilgrave. And throughout the entire season, she's trying to find a way to stop him from killing other people. And she finds out more about her past and how she got her powers, and that how he manipulated her. She kills him, and that's done. She's now a hero. Defenders happens. There's an event. Nothing really happens in there. Season 2, coming off the fact that she's quote unquote hero that kills people, vigilante, new superintendent in the apartment. Her life is kind of turned upside down because people know about her. And Alias Investigations is kind of becoming a bigger thing. She runs through competitive investigation firms.
Yeah.
But Trish is starting to reopen up some tumultuous relationship with her. They go a little bit about the past of those two. And she ends up finding out that IGH, this company who experimented on people, gave people powers, gave her powers, and then comes revealing that Carl Malice, one of the series antagonists, chaotic neutral, I don't know, actually had been saving and taking care of her mom. Jessica Jones' mom, and Jessica Jones' mom, who is stronger but more rage.
She also thought her parents were dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's one big reveal. Like she has these like boxes of the ashes that she thinks is her family, and then she finds out that her mom is alive.
Doing okay.
It's doing okay.
Season 2.
I'd say okay.
I don't know. She's breaking eggs, I don't know if she's doing okay. She can't even make fucking breakfast.
Season 2 really tries to dive into the origin of her and kind of tries to dive into the relationships between Jessica and her sister, her adoptive mother,
her
mother.
psyche, essentially.
Yeah. And it's something, again, like we've talked about, which is usually a strength of a season 2 or a second movie of where you can develop the character a little bit more. This season tried to go into her past so you can kind of give more understanding of why there's method to her madness. All relationships are strained amongst around because of the idea of powered people around. Ends with Trish and Jessica not trusting each other because Trish now wants to have powers. And then at the very end, Trish ends up killing Inez or Alyssa.
Trish doesn't want power. She just wants to do drugs.
Yeah.
Because there is this tough battle that Jessica goes through where she is trying to understand where her family ties are, and she wants to be the saving grace for her mother Alyssa. But at the very end, she knows that she's this uncaged animal and kind of like a Hulk, where it's like you either kill her or that's it. So either one of us dies tonight.
Yeah.
And it ends.
Okay.
So that's
That was brief. That was good.
Yeah.
That was good. You're getting
I like
better at
that.
this.
I'm getting stronger.
Do you also want to kind of maybe have like a brief touch on this versus the source
comic
material?
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I say the Marvel Universe cinematically is so, everyone's like, oh, that's the perfect way. I'm like, no, there's many universes, there's many runs, there's many iterations and reboots. I'd say the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Can I just stop you real quick so I can fill in Dillon a little bit?
Yeah.
So we've talked, of course, about comic book movies before, and something that we bring up that I love that Ollie came up with first is that it's not hard to compare comic book source material or movies that are based on comic book source material. It's just like there are different runs. He has said that these movies are runs of
This
these
person's run
story.
Of the story.
Right.
So
Yeah.
this is Netflix, Marvel cinema.
It's their run.
It's their run of this.
And
So I just want to explain what you just said.
Yeah,
So,
and it always like kills me or stabs me a little bit when I hear other like fanboys be like, "This is not right" or "This is perfect." I'm like, shut up.
Like, would you
it's a
say
run.
that about Ultimate versus Amazing Spider-Man?
Yeah,
No,
it's like, shut
they're
up. Just let
different
it
runs.
Just let it be. Just let it be. And so again, the differences between the comic book and this one, like Jessica Jones is actually supposed to be closer to the same age as Peter Parker.
Okay.
They're like in the same high school, and which is funny because I love how it's kind of like the big MacGuffin. The chemicals actually that affected Daredevil gave him his vision thing. The same chemicals that gave Jessica Jones her powers. And it's the same chemicals that gave the Ninja Turtles their powers.
Yep.
And that was made purely because of a parody. But yeah, so she goes into coma for 20 days. They got that number right. And then she comes back. And then, well, the funny thing is that
The ooze.
she had this crazy crush on Peter Parker. And then years later, when they finally get revealed their identities and she's been a hero and he's been Spider-Man for all this time, like she tells him, like, I had this crush on you. He's like, oh, I never knew you. Like, you were just Coma Girl.
Oh.
And that's intense. And that's the thing about Peter Parker. He's he doesn't know what to say sometimes because he's young. He's growing up. But
Because he's a dick.
no, not Andrew Garfield. Not
Parker's a bit of a dick.
No, he's not.
He just called her Coma Girl.
Because he was in high school.
Everyone was doing it. Everyone was doing it.
But yeah, she ends up developing a relationship with Luke Cage and ends up being pregnant and having a child, and they end up having like a lasting relationship. She has relationships with everyone, which is kind of common when you have fictional characters. They all intermingle.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Greek mythology. Fuck.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Multiple times she's had run-ins with Captain Marvel, aka Carol Danvers, Brie Larson. I love you. Shout out to Brie Larson. Days for days. And multiple times she's been recruited to the Avengers, and she usually declines because she wants to just protect her family. And that's why I kind of like that Jessica Jones in the TV series is very like, I'm not a hero. I don't want to be a hero. Like, also, this is not your life. I don't want to include you. Get out of it. Like, that's how she kind of is. Like, she's very just like, I need to do everything to protect my daughter. I need to do everything to protect my family, my Luke
She
Cage.
just has a moral compass.
Yeah.
She doesn't necessarily want to be a hero. She just has powers and likes to do good when she can.
And drink a shitload of whiskey.
Tons of whiskey.
Yeah.
My
Or bourbon.
God.
Kilgrave does play a big prominent role in her arc, her story. It's like it would be like a Jason Todd. If there is an arc you have to have in her storyline. And the way that she overcomes it, she actually ends up going with Jean Grey, and they end up creating mental barriers. Same way kind of like they did in X-Men 3, mental barriers. So she can actually combat Kilgrave without being mind controlled. So and that's the thing that the comic books will always have a strength over any type of movie, but gaming will actually can rival it, where you can include characters that you don't know everything about.
Yeah.
And colorful characters that you want to know the stories about. Films, you have to go through the motions and struggles of like, here's their origin story, here's the blah, blah. But like in comic books and games, it's like, there's a character, they're cool, they have a thing. You just instantly just accept that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those are kind of
change for Kilgrave is that in the comics he's actually purple.
He's actually purple
He's
man.
a purple person.
Yeah.
Who, Kilgrave?
Zebediah.
And that's why they bring that purple, but that whole purple tone, the coloring, that comes up a little bit in season 2 as well.
It
It's become the aesthetic for Jessica Jones.
Yeah, I would assume.
Like, Daredevil's red and Luke Cage is orange and yellow, and then Iron Fist is like greenish and yellow. Yeah, I mean, those are kind of the different major differences. And Jessica Jones, again, is relatively a newer comic book character, which is really awesome that,
it's only like, it's less than 20 years old. So in comic book world, that is
huge.
It's brand spanking new.
It's a baby. Just
Guardians.
Spawns.
Yeah.
Just like
When did
Spawn.
Guardians
Spawn's
come
not that old either.
No.
Yeah.
When did Guardians come out?
Guardians was around way early. Not
And
this iteration is the latest
second one.
It
iteration.
had to have been at a certain point to be able to reference Alyssa Milano.
That's fair. I mean, let me see. I'll look it up. But does everyone want to start to go around and say their favorite moments, maybe from Jessica Jones?
Sure, I'll start. Anytime Kilgrave is
That's pretty much my favorite moment.
Well, I mean, I like why I say that is because of the way he is, his maniacal.
Again, he gets to have fun being the villain.
I mean,
and David Tennant is having so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see that, and it reminds me of Sherlock, Moriarty. That guy looks like he's having a fucking good time being the bad guy.
In the name of just chaos.
In the name of just watching the world burn. And with David Tennant, I personally think that it takes more work to be a bad guy as an actor, only because you have to draw your moral compass, because a bad guy thinks that they're doing the right thing.
A bad guy that thinks they're not the bad guy is not a good bad guy.
Yeah, they're doing the right thing.
The Magnetos, the Dr. Dooms are the best kind of villains.
Yeah, and so it's fun to watch him play. I really do enjoy the cheeky quips from Jessica Jones. I mean, I'm not
they
rude,
have good
but
chemistry is the thing. It's not a one-sided like Kilgrave takes the cake. Like without the chemistry with Kristen Ritter, it would make sense. It could be taken away from the performance. They feed off each other. Like you were saying, before we start recording, acting is not just look at me, look at me, look at me. It's like you get as much as you give to the other actor.
Yeah.
And they were really in it together.
Yeah. And so I really liked those scenes. It was fun.
I think, and I'm sad, and I'll be completely honest, because I haven't seen all of the episodes, and I've seen like spotted episodes, and then I did a lot of research on what happens in season 2. From what I've seen, the little bit that I did see, I think I really enjoyed Trisha's character, Rachel Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think she did a really good job.
I fell in love with Rachel Taylor.
It was
Word.
And I'll be curious to see, I guess not really like a favorite moment, but it's more like a favorite kind of series of moments that leads up to like the finale or whatever. But just seeing her character like transform, or like go on a journey this year.
Yeah. I would say she had the Phoenix kind of journey. She destroyed herself.
But it was like organic, and it wasn't like a twist or something lame. Like she quote unquote earned.
Yeah. She was dynamic as shit.
Yeah. And I just really liked her performance in both seasons. And
yeah.
What's the neighbor's name? The
Malcolm.
guy, Malcolm. That's right. Malcolm's because he's relatable. He's the most relatable character in the show. To me, not that I can relate to being an addict, because never been there, done that yet.
Yes.
There's always room for error. But I would say that he's my favorite character in the moments that, because he knows how to like tie everything together, and he really wants to help. And Jessica is not one to take help. The only person she's willing to take help from is hardly Luke, and mainly Trish. And so he sticks around, just keeps taking
and
her.
And that's barely. She barely accepts help from those
Trish,
people that she will.
But then she lets him in, and she acts. She even says in the second season, my brother would have been your age.
Yeah.
And then they kind of have that bickering and banter back and forth in that degree. And I like that they have a character that tries to level her out, but doesn't let her. But now he's starting to adapt some of the things that Jessica, her mentality and the way she lives.
Yeah.
And so now it's changing him. So he went from being this really helpful guy and willing to lay down on the line for anybody.
Yeah.
And then now it's going into the other direction, where now it's all about him.
I got to take care of myself.
And how far he can get.
Yeah.
And so that's interesting to me, because I'm more excited in the second season about the sub characters than I was originally. It was all about Jess.
Yeah.
So that's why I think the second season is better, and I'm more interested.
Okay.
I dig that. You know what? I didn't look at it that way. And maybe that's
Let us learn you some.
let me I may go back and rewatch the season 2 stuff with that kind of mentality on.
Same.
Because I really like that way of thinking, that it's now a time to explore the sub characters and how Jess is affecting them. Right? It's kind of like the first season we've learned who she is, what she's about, all that kind of stuff, where she kind of came from with her insecurities and like not wanting to let people help her. But now we're kind of seeing the ripple of that with these sub characters. So I think I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it with that mentality. I love that.
So I've seen every episode except the last 30 minutes of the last episode. But this entire season, she didn't fly. And the thing about Jewel, her superhero alter ego, is that she had limited flight and
So
limited.
you're talking favorite moments?
And she had limited invulnerability, right? And so I will go to the same thing. It's like my favorite parts were in season 2, and specifically it was the episode where it goes into. I just talked crap about this too, about like how it has a flashback of something, but it showed the relationship between Jessica and Trish.
Yeah.
And it showed how Trish was this patsy and doing drugs and, you know, blowing guys in the bathroom and stuff like that. And then Jessica,
I'm 13 inside. He said blowing guys.
and Jessica like falls in love, and that love is taken from her. And it shows why that bond came together. And in a weird way, it showed how two broken people came together and tried to make each other whole and try to build themselves up. But it had the flaw that they both were looking at each other for something, and then it explodes later on. And so my favorite part, I guess, specifically is just seeing, you know, and I talked about this a lot, is whenever you see character development, whenever you get those silent moments alone with that character and you see why they're acting a certain way, the method to the madness in their methods, the, you know, their how they respond to different people in the same situations. And I thought this season specifically did that so well. And I know specifically since every single episode was directed by a woman filmmaker, I know that was a huge focus, and that everyone in that season, you know, again, kind of like Corey said, like season 1 really introduced all the characters, but season 2 really showed how all these relationships are getting to this place of abuse, and it's all destructive. And I think it was beautifully done to show that there is an empowering strength and resilience in the woman's female like spirit. And I was like, that's a strength that you can't really do if there's a man behind that lens.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the show does really well, I think, is nurture and grow like strong and interesting female characters.
All of them that I would marry.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All of them I would marry. They're all based for days because they're all strong.
100%.
So qualms?
Qualms.
We kind of went a little
favorite
dangerous.
parts, but that's fine.
Oh, do you go with favorite part, Corey? I want to hear you.
Tom skipped me.
No, that's fine.
No, it's a little one. If we're picking specific parts, obviously I liked her chemistry with Kilgrave a lot. I like the way you kind of set up the second season. I'm going to go back and watch that. I liked what we talked about earlier about how the first season was like setting all these ticking time bombs, and season 2 is watching them all go off. But specific moments is in the first season, she rescues the girl who's under Kilgrave's spell, and she's going through all this like basically PTSD, having to deal with Kilgrave again, but knows that she has to like, I got to save this girl. Reunites her with the family, and as the elevator doors are closing in slow motion, she's having this moment being like, that was too easy. Why was it so easy? Why would he let her go? Why wasn't he there? And she realized too late that like, oh shit, he wanted me to bring her here and reunite her with her parents, and she shoots him in the elevator and everything like that. For some reason, that really affected me. That watching her kind of be so excited that she beat Kilgrave at something, but realizing that she had actually lost.
That he was like 12 steps ahead.
I really enjoyed that. Not only because you hadn't seen Kilgrave at all yet. You'd seen flashes, but it kind of tells you everything you need to know about his character before he ever shows up. And I thought that was really well written. That's my favorite moment.
That's good.
And scene.
And,
thank you.
And qualms.
Call me qualms. I can start since I'm already talking here.
I don't want to skip you.
I said a little earlier in the episode, but honestly, playing their hand with Kilgrave in the first season, I really do think it's kind of like how I felt about Helya in Ragnarok, where they have this great villain, and then they're just like, all right, he's done.
Peace.
Like, I was like, I think there's you know, the way and maybe they will bring him back. You know, comic book characters don't ever really die, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Right.
But like, you know, I just think there was something really interesting to watch about the struggle between the two of them.
Yeah.
And their past. And I thought he was, you know, like I said, he's on par with Loki for me as interesting to watch.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy the sort of, you know, it's the reason I like Black Panther the most is there's a villain who I like watching, and he's got a good point. Like he's
got a good body.
You know what I mean? And so yeah, and he's got a great bod. No, but that I enjoy watching the villain. And there's been shows I've watched in the past where the villain shows up and I go, I fucking hate this person. I don't care.
Yeah.
But he wasn't one of those. So you need to have the balance between your hero and villain.
It's funny because I think as we got older and we started watching the content as with kids and then now becoming older, like the villains we hate are not the ones that are really good at being villains. It's the ones that like we just don't care about. The villains that we love are like the ones that are great being a villain.
Who make a point.
Yeah.
You know?
My qualms have like direct relations to yours.
You next, yes.
They're gonna have relations.
Yes, they have relations, but my qualms are with. Let's go back to what you were saying. How they have such great chemistry. David Tennant and Kristen Ritter have really great chemistry. My whole reason for stopping watching the show was because they were the only ones that had chemistry, in my opinion, in the show. Because everyone else was just running around. Like the drug addict just seemed like a drug addict. I couldn't see any ties yet. Mm-hmm. Like I couldn't see any foreshadowing. I wasn't getting it. Trish was just showing up when she needed when Jessica needed her, or when she was concerned about Jessica. She was just some radio show host, you know. And so it didn't make any sense. The only thing that was good that was David Tennant and her relationship. And then Luke Cage, I love Luke Cage, so that was good. But my biggest qualm was he was so OP, such strong character, and and all the times he tried to use his powers to take her down when he was getting stronger, he falls short. Where the whole beginning part of the series, like you said, he's always like 12 steps ahead of her. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, when she realizes that he can't affect her, you think she's 12 steps ahead, but in reality, she's only 2 steps, but it's enough to foil his plans entirely. Right. At the hospital, when he says, hey, Jessica's here, why isn't there a mob of people just going after like zombie status? That would have been such a cool shot.
Yeah.
Like one of my biggest qualms with the show is the filming. They don't do anything cool or mind-blowing or like spectacular or anything unique like Daredevil, and even Luke Cage has a couple little things that set design.
Yeah,
that's what you're saying. Yeah,
you know, and so in this, that was their opportunity. All the people in the hospital could have just ran after her, zombie mode. Just everyone, and she had to fight her way out, fought like 7 people, and then got out.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly my point. Is that they just all of a sudden ramped up and were like, all right, now he's dead. They didn't get.
They nerfed him at the end.
Yeah, right. They finally got him to this point where
Kathleen came by and was like, "No,
wow, he's such a cool villain." And then they were like, "And then now say goodbye."
Like the coolest shit was all the police officers just taking fire at her, like, bah, bah, bah. And then you think, "Oh, that's one obstacle down. Now she's on to the next one, boy." And then she goes and you see her like with all the other people outside, and then Kilgrave just takes the easy way out and says, "Oh, kill each other." Lame. You know, why don't you just have them all go after Jessica and just to fight each one off? And he's all waiting to get on the boat. He's all waiting. He's like, yeah, I'm going to wait and see if she's still in love with me. It's like, dude, just, you know.
I feel like it slightly would have turned into Dynasty Warriors where you're just like flailing like herds and herds of people. Yeah. But I mean, that
I'd like to see that.
It'd be interesting because again, that's something against her character because her character hasn't been like, I have these great powers and I do stuff with it. It's more like, these powers are kind of like a curse, but I use them to my advantage sometimes. But she's not like the Hulk. She's not like Wonder Woman who's going to just turn Super Saiyan over 9,000, just blast through people.
Well, I think some of that came from, I feel like the writers might have wanted to like stick really closely to the whole like, oh, like she has all this strength, but you know, she can't do anything with it against Kilgrave. But, like she has to, it's a
the Joker Dark Knight type thing.
But right. I do agree that would have been a really good point where they could have done the one shot fight sequences with her, but except, you know, she's blasting through walls, you know, instead of just like are
you gonna really badly
hurt these people? Awesome idea, and maybe they can take note. You know, hey guys, at Netflix, write this down.
Kevin Feige, listen up.
Check it out. So you know, she's in a building. She should just be juggernauting it through walls, bro.
That's Captain America,
dude.
Captain America style.
She could have totally just boosh, and started doing it. That at that point in the hospital, it would have been bitching. Yeah. And they could have done a great track shot, dolly shot, whatever the hell they wanted to do. But no, they missed their opportunity. And maybe there's a point to it. Maybe there's something, some little message that I'm not even seeing or I'm missing out on. Like you brought up, Tom, you're saying that it's the idea of she has this power, but she's not willing to hurt people like that for no reason.
She only flies one time throughout both seasons, and it's literally on accident. So, I mean...
That's a good point.
So, that's my qualms.
Ollie?
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with some of that, kind of what you were saying about like missing opportunities to have really cool action pieces. And the entire time you were talking about how Daredevil's more, less of a character-driven show, I was like, but it's so fun to watch them fight.
Yeah.
Like, I want that, And I think Netflix, or maybe it's Marvel's, whoever's, higher ups, I think they're a little, and this kind of goes across all the shows, I think they're a little too obsessed with going super character-driven on a lot of the shows to where they miss opportunities like that. Where
they're playing it too safe.
You have comic book nerds wanting to watch the show, like give them something to watch, and you can have a harmony of that. Go, Tom.
Tom's shaking.
I'm trying not to recreate Spider-Man episode, but the thing about they're so character-driven, right?
Yeah.
The thing about fights stop narrative. Fight stops plot.
Not always.
But a good fight will continue it. And I think the best Marvel Netflix fight was in season 2 with Daredevil, is because he's trying to save the Punisher.
Yeah.
And he's also trying to prove to the Punisher that you can stop a mob of armed people without killing them.
No guns.
And so there's this ideological battle happening within the physical fight.
Mm-hmm.
If you have
I'll put it this way then. Like, I agree with that 100%. But the flip side of it being such a character-driven story, I wasn't invested or interested enough to what was happening, which is kind of like the problem with Defenders, which is like, it wasn't super action-oriented, but I didn't care about anything that was happening on screen or about the character like driven
You get to the point of like, why are we here?
Why are we here? So I think if I had to kind of try to condense it a little bit towards qualms with season 2, it would be mostly about like, I feel like it just took too long to get to the interesting point.
Yeah.
Like we didn't need half of the season.
I hate to agree with you, but I gotta agree with you.
I always say, hey, when you're right, you're right.
You're right.
Josh.
Never tell a lie.
Joshua.
Mine might be a stupid one, but
no, shut up.
There's no stupid one. Stop doing that.
Stop doing that. I don't understand the point of why mention that. I mean, I feel like this show, like you said, she flies once. She has a super strength. I feel like what they've done is they've relied on her super strength, and that's what gets brought up every now and then.
It's the plot point.
It's the plot point, and I'm just kind of like, I kind of feel like this character has this really interesting, unique background, and they barely fucking touch on it.
Yep.
And like her powers, I'm like, I'm sorry. She used to be a fucking superhero.
Jewel.
Jewel. And you're not going to use that shit? Like, no, I know that powers aren't the point of the story. It's kind of the focus of her trying to live her life without her powers, quotes in the air. But I'm kind of like, why mention it, bro?
Yeah.
Why bring it up?
It's kind of the opposite of the Kilgrave effect that I said. They played their hand too soon with that, and now they're playing it too close to the chest.
Yeah. And I'm just like, use it.
Yeah.
I want to find more out about Jessica. I want to find out the things that she's like, that kind of stuff.
It feels more like a weapon and not an extension of her own arm.
Yeah. And I'm just like, there's a part of me when I watch it that I'm like, who cares?
Yep.
Like, you just brought this up and I'm like, cool, she's super strong.
Yep.
That's what she's got.
Thing that I watch when I watch Jessica Jones, the whole thing is like, why should I care?
Yeah.
Is she doing anything for anybody? Nah. Like Luke Cage is there for the people.
Yeah.
He's the people's hero.
Yeah.
You know, why do I give a shit about what Jessica Jones is running around doing? Like, there's nothing there to make me feel for her, like, really, deep down in there. She was being a shithead, grabbed the Game Boy, and then her dad crashed the car. It's like, way to fuck up a Game Boy and the car. That's all I could. That whole part, I was like, "Our parents are dead." What game was he playing? Was it Pokemon? Was it like yellow version? What's going on?
It was yellow for sure.
For me, my qualm, I guess it's kind of a combination of everybody. I kind of agree, and this is one time I'll probably agree with some of the popular consensus, is that it kind of lacked in a focal point of like, who's the villain? And I know, like, and that's the thing I think the show tried to do, is not have a villain in a superhero villain world. And I said this earlier, it's like Days of Our Lives meets Law and Order. Like, that's what this season turned out to be. Like, there's this emotional grab. There's this, like, you know, different things are happening.
The mom who returns from the dead. And like,
But then, I mean, like, Hogarth's company's coming after her. Like, Jessica Jones is consistently getting arrested or being in trouble with the cops. So it's like, there's this, like, play of, like, what's right, what's legal, what are we going to do to save the soul of people? But I felt like that was almost kind of like, in a weird way, it didn't play that strong enough, and it didn't play the superhero strong enough.
Right.
So it had this midpoint, which in a weird way, like, it's just jarring because the entire Marvel universe in Netflix has been created where there's a hero and there's a villain, and maybe there's two villains. But this show tried to do something different. And I think if it continues this way, it'll be something a little refreshing, but right now it's a little jarring. And
I think I'm getting fatigued on the 5 hands or the 5 fingers.
The hand.
The foot.
The 10 fingers.
The foot.
The 10 fingers
The foot.
is Mandarin.
Yeah. I think I'm just getting fatigued on that storyline. I want it to be over.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of, whatever about them too. But I mean, with Jessica Jones, I feel like it has a big opportunity to be something different from that show.
It does.
But I don't know if it would be included in like a season 2 of Defenders. I don't know if it has.
I don't think they're making one.
I don't know if it
Yeah,
has
they're
reference.
not. I don't think so because it said it's a one shot basically.
Yeah.
All right.
Which is cool. I like that.
Which is just them saying it wasn't good enough for us to make a second season.
Yeah. And I like that it really ties into what you guys are all saying, which you guys had to inform me on. It's them playing towards, what would you guys call it? It's their run.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
they're
their
right.
run.
Well,
their run.
it's a Marvel
don't get me
cinematic one shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like, I would much rather have them than not have them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm excited for like 5 years down the line when this stuff is super
I wanna see
polished
Punisher with the Defenders.
and made really well.
Yeah.
And there's new characters being brought into, the Netflix universe or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm
It's
excited
like
for
Tom
where it
always,
could go.
Tom always says, we should be happy these are being made at all because
Right.
5 years ago, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
they weren't.
I want
weren't.
to see Silver Sable. I want to see White Tiger.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before Iron Man, we didn't have many
I wanna see
superhero
Nova.
films besides. I mean, I guess before X-Men, we had like no superhero films ever.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
What they need to do now
Well, they
is
were few and far between.
Yeah, and they were not good.
we need a Netflix Marvel Studios X-Men show.
Well, I mean, I want to mention something real quick because as we've been watching this, as we've been talking about this over the past hour, some of us have mentioned that we did not finish it.
Correct.
It's very unlike us when we choose a topic. Usually we're like, nope, we finished it. But this one kind of says a little bit about it.
Yeah.
It says a little bit about...
Well, I mean, with Mindhunter, with Stranger Things, it's like when it came out, I watched the whole thing
Yeah,
within
I watched
the
it in
first
like
week.
2 days.
Like a day.
With Jessica Jones, there wasn't that much of a demand for it. When all the first season 1s of all the Marvel shows came out, and then Iron Fist and Defenders came out, it was like, maybe there's not that big of a need.
Yeah.
There's not that big of a need. And that does say something. Like when you see a Marvel movie, everyone watches it opening weekend.
And I hate to but I mean, not every episode of our show is going to be like how much we love it or anything like that.
No.
Sometimes
And
we're going to talk
what
about
we're
something
here
that...
for.
We anal
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
I feel complete. There it is. I knew it was coming.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So...
Feel good.
again,
Dylan, you want to tell
thanks to Dillon.
our audience where they can find you at?
Oh yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Nerd with an Opinion, Twitter. I believe I'm Dylan Mora. I need to change that. I don't know. I don't tweet a whole lot. Facebook at Nerd with an Opinion page, and on the YouTubes it's at Nerd with an Opinion. So everything's
Where
pretty
can
much
where can they listen to your show? Where's
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud? Okay.
It's been on there every single episode that I have, which I believe there's 90 tracks, something like that.
Nice.
On SoundCloud.
Nice.
They're on there, and you can go and listen to them. They're free, and go ahead.
50 free?
Free 50 free. You can listen to it on any device. That's why I'm on SoundCloud, because you can listen to it on Android, iPod, if you have one of those,
Everything.
iPhone.
Everything.
So yeah, that's it. And I gotta thank you guys for having me on here.
Of course.
I
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
coming on the show.
Well, when Josh had told us that you were coming on, we were pretty excited because I followed your stuff on Instagram and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
So when Josh said to me, like, he's coming on, I was stoked.
Yeah. Everybody at home, thank you for listening. Again, if you're new to the show, if you're coming over from Nerd with Any Opinions audience, you can find out more about us at nerdonthepodcast.com.
Every level of nerd is welcome here, whether you're tall nerd, short nerd, if you're what?
I could feel it.
You can feel it?
I could feel it in my bones.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
growing.
I wasn't gonna say anything. That's all. If you like whatever you like, and you're welcome here.
Yeah.
And your
Everybody's wel-
opinion is welcome.
Yeah. But as always,
I'm not wearing hockey
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
God.
I love that shit.
Bill Nye right here. I'm just like, I feel
That's
it in my
me.
bones.
press the space bar.
Ending broadcast.